for free every single day. I'm just going to do something real quick. If you're new to this channel, then welcome to you guys. What we teach here, what we show you guys is going to change the way that you trade in the stock market. I promise you it's the easiest way to trade that you will ever come across. There are no indicators. We strictly use the candlesticks to tell us how to get into a trade, how to get out of a trade, and that is it. So join me with the watch list, with the followers. We are live here, so if you are part of the live channel, feel free to leave your comments to the section on the right. I will answer them as we go through the video. And again, if you're watching this as a replay, feel free to leave comments in the comment section if you have questions. You can do the same thing on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, I am there as well. You can follow me at Mr. Clark Griswold. I'll answer your questions there, or even better, I will answer them in the Griswold Trading Discord. That link to get in there, it's free, but that link is in the description below. So go ahead, join there. You can ask questions in there. There is a paid portion of that, but we're not going to talk about that right now. What else do I have for you? The screen that you see in front of you, this screen is from TradingView. If you've never used TradingView before, if you're looking to use something like TradingView, then I also have a link in the description for that. It will give you a free 30-day trial to TradingView. Okay, so then if you my daughter's playing in the background. If you decide to go ahead with that subscription, you'll get up to $30 off of that subscription. So make sure you take advantage at least of that free 30-day offer and try TradingView out for free. Okay, so let's get started on this list. I will tell you guys, like, if we're going to talk about this a little bit, but if you're struggling with your trading or you're new to trading, you're lucky to have found the Strat, because for me, finding the Strat was a light bulb moment, and it kind of changed the way that I traded. So it gave me a clear entry and it gave me a clear exit. And that's all it is. It's super simple. There's not a whole bunch to learn in its simplicity. There are little nuances that you will pick up as we go through, as you go through the videos, but it is fairly simple. So the first thing we have on here is the inside bar. Okay, so inside bars don't break the high. They do not break the low of the previous candle. It's also known as a one bar. So when we look at inside bars, we look at them as consolidation bars. So it's a tightening range, and when you see that yellow candle, and the candle is yellow because of the Griswold Strat indicator that I created. And that indicator comes with a bunch of things. It comes with this time frame continuity, the yellow bars, the Sarah Strat Sniper 50% rule, paints the outside bars white, and a bunch of other things. But when you see this yellow candle, I want you guys to think of a spring being tightened, compacted, squished down. And when you take that force off the spring, you expect an explosion, similar to what we see off of this inside bar, where we opened and we trended down and then we broke way down here. So that's what we look for off of inside bars. And again, I tell people, if you're new or struggling, take a look at the inside bars, because you can play realistically either side of them. And it's just a good way to get you acclimated to trading with the Strat and really just getting a hold of the concepts of it. So with this inside bar, we can look for calls at 856, first target at 869. The targets go to the top of the preceding wicks. And you can look for puts at 835, and again, the targets go to the bottom of the preceding wicks. Now, the way I do this stuff, guys, I'll set these triggers and targets on a higher time frame, and then what I'll do is hop down to this 5-minute chart, and you notice we still have those triggers and those targets on here. Okay? The yellow lines are the triggers, the green lines are the targets. And then I'll sit here and I'll just wait for this to break to one side or the other, and I'll manage this trade off of the 5-minute chart. So you can go check out any of my review videos. They all show me doing the exact same thing. I play these the exact same way. Okay? So go watch those review videos, and that's exactly how you play these trades. And not even just the inside bars, but the 2-2 reversals. So Lucid now has a 2-up that finished red. So a 2 candle is a directional candle. It only breaks the high or the low of the previous candle. So in this case, it broke the high. We call that a 2-up. The thing here is, though, it finished 2 up, but red. So that gives me a higher probability that this is going to trend back to the downside. So we can mark our triggers for puts at 749 and the first targets at 733. Now, could you still take a reversal to the downside if this candle was green? You absolutely can, okay? The candlestick matters, but it only matters to a certain degree and for certain things. So yes, a red candle would tell us that we are trending down. But if this was green, we still have the potential to trend down on this trade. So you could have a 2 up green and still go 2 down on the next candle. But the red candle, like I said, gives us a higher probability that we are going to continue to trend to the downside. So the other thing we have is time frame continuity. It's a key cog, a key part of trading this strategy. The more you have in the direction of your trade, so for me, because I only sit in a trade for an hour or less, I only really need this hourly and this daily in the same direction. And if you don't know what time frame continuity is, go to the beginner tools playlist. There's a video in there telling you guys exactly what time frame continuity is. So I need the hourly and the daily. If this trends down, I've got the weekly and the monthly. That's what I call a bonus. And all I mean by that is it's just a higher probability that this trade goes in our favor. Okay, so puts at 749, first targets at 733. Ford Motor Company, same thing. We have this 2 up red. We have the time frame continuity, not full time frame, but we do have time frame continuity on our side. So we can look for the puts here at 1177 and the first targets at 1132. We move on to BA. So BA, the same thing, that 2 up red, we're going to look for puts at 205. There is conflict here though on the week, month, quarterly, and yearly. But again, like I said, I really only need these 2 when I'm taking short little day trades. For you, it might be different, and that's okay. You're going to find out as you go through this stuff what works for you and what doesn't. And what works for you might not work for me. And what works for me may not work for you. So we'll look for puts here at 205, first targets at 197.11. Good magnitude, good room for it to move. BAC, here's another 2 up red. And I like BAC here. I think the premiums are fairly high on BAC. I don't recall. And I think the spreads between the bid and the ask might be far apart. Now, I like when I'm trading to have my spreads between my bid and the ask within pennies. Less than probably 5%, maybe 2.5%. And that's why I trade SPY a lot, because I have that. So we can look for the puts here. We've got really good time frame continuity. Puts at 28.47 and first target at 27.87. Beyond Meat, same thing, 2 up red. And this is what we could call a shooter candle. We have this body to the downside on the bottom side, and we have this big long wick. And this long wick is at least 2 times the size of this body. So that gives me a shooter candle. It's one of 3 actionable signals when we talk about the strat. The shooter candle, the hammer candle, which is the exact opposite of this, has the body at the top with the wick at the bottom, and then the inside bars, which we've talked about already. So when you have one of those 3, again, it's a higher probability trade that we're going to, a bearish pattern. A shooter candle is a bearish pattern. So this is going to tell us that we have the potential to trend down here. Now, time frame continuity is against us in a lot of areas, but that's not to say that we still can't take this trade to the downside and hit some targets. We move on to Chewy. So Chewy has an inside bar, but it also has this 3-1 setup. So I'm going to mark the targets here for you guys. The low is 36.73. The high target is 40.84. And you can mark out more additional targets if you want. This 3-1 setup does not happen very often. It's a rare pattern. And so essentially it is just an inside bar, but it's preceded by an outside bar. So when we have that, probability and history tells us that we usually have bigger runs on that. So if you notice, if we go back here, it's highlighted gold. That's also part of the indicator that I created for you guys. Now that indicator, that link for the indicator is down in the description below, and it's a $25 one-time fee. You get it for life, and if I ever add anything to it, then you guys get that add-on at no charge. But it's also part of the Griswold Gold membership. So I'll tell you this, that indicator is $25. The Griswold Gold membership is $50. You get multiple one-on-ones with me. You get top 5s with me. You get a 1-hour strat course. So the value you get out of that $50 is way more than what the cost of it is. So here's that 3-1 setup, and this is exactly what we look for, right? So the triggers, and we look for that explosion to the upside. But this gapped up, so we still had that explosion, but then it trended back down. And then we had the same thing happen here where we opened here, and then we had this nice little run down for actually 2 days. So that's what we look for off of those inside bars or those 3-1 setups. We look for those high movers, those big movers, those high probability plays. So calls at $40.49, puts at $37.72. The targets marked out for you guys on Chewy. CL is Colgate-Palmolive. There's another one of those inside bars. A really big target to the upside and not so much to the downside. Here's the thing. If we trend to the downside, this is Monday's bar. This is Tuesday's bar. So if we trend to the downside, we're going to have full time frame continuity right across the board to the downside. And again, if we trend up, we've got our hourly, we've got our daily, and we've got our weekly. Okay, so either way, this looks like a good setup on CL. DraftKings, 2 up red, so we'll look for those puts at 1782. And then we're going to mark our first targets out right here at 1756 on DKNG. So again, if you guys do have questions, you can leave them right on the right-hand side there in the comment section, okay? And I think you can only leave comments if you're subscribed, but I'm not sure. But if you find this stuff is helping you guys out and you find it interesting, please subscribe. Hit the bell. The bell will send notifications for when we go live next time. It'll send you notifications for when I send out the learning tool videos. I've got over 100 of them for you guys to really immerse yourself and learn this strategy. So we'll move on to GM, General Motors. That has a 2 up red as well. We've got the time frame continuity here. We'll look for those puts at 35.08. And here's where it gets interesting. So I just saw something about Wells Fargo. And if you guys are here and you know what I'm talking about, I think they asked for a $9.5 million bailout, maybe? I don't recall. I saw it briefly before I jumped on, so don't quote me on any of that. But I would be watching the banking sector very close tomorrow. So GS has this 2 up that finished red. That gives me high probability, because it finished red, that we are going to trend down tomorrow. Okay, so we can look at that setup. Puts at 318.95. First target 314.54. If we trend that way, guys, we're going to have all of this to the red side. And Goldman Sachs isn't the only one. Okay, so there's a bunch of bank plays on here. We're going to go through them. IWM 2 up red, so we'll look for the puts there as well. 174.61 trigger. Now that doesn't mean that's the strike price you take. That's the trigger price. That's where we get into the trade. If you're taking options on this, I wouldn't recommend shorting common shares. But if you're looking at options, I usually get 2 strikes off of my trigger. So 174.61 is a trigger, so I'd be looking at 174, 173, and potentially 172, maybe. Okay, so one of those 3 options is what I'd be taking. And for me, I would get a Friday expiry. I like to take the closest expiry, but for you guys, maybe you want to take something a little further out, so you save on that theta, the time decay, and the kill on your premiums. Coca-Cola, big inside bar doji candle. We can look for calls at 60.46, puts at 59.35. Time frame is pointing nicely to the upside. We have good magnitude to the upside, and we can put our targets in there as well. So that's on Coca-Cola. We'll move on to Lyft. Lyft has, here's another really great play. So Lyft has this 2 up red, and if the daily charts don't work for you guys, you can go to the 15, you can go to the 30, but I would still recommend you managing on the 5, especially if you're trading options. Now, Lyft has full time frame continuity to the downside. It's got no inside bars. I know this because there is no yellow circle around any of these. When I have a yellow circle around here, you'll see one soon. That's telling me there's a current inside bar. So this is usually what I play on the 15 or the 30. I look for these reversals back into time frame continuity. So puts at 848, first target at 819 for Lyft on Wednesday. Would I put that on the top 5? I probably would. Okay. Macy's 2 up red. Here's another one. Full time frame continuity across the board. Reversal down. Puts at 1845. First targets at 1819. Here's another bank. Morgan Stanley. We have this 2 up red. We're going to look for this to trend down. The time frame continuity isn't there on this one, but we're going to look for a trend down on Morgan Stanley. puts at 89.12, first target's at 86.65. MU, that's Micron Technologies, 2 up red, so we'll look for the puts there at 53.70. Netflix, 3-1 setup, so we've gone through these. You guys know about them. We go back in time and look for the last time there was a 3-1 setup. We have to go back to January 11th. And then we had this where we gapped up and then came back down. So again, I like to go back and show you guys this because I'm not sitting here telling you guys that this works out every single time, because it doesn't. But probability tells us this is what we get. We get these openings, we get these triggers, and we get these runs. Okay? That's what probability tells us. And every strategy that we look at, every trade that we look at is always based off of probability. And the reason that is, and if someone tells you different, they're lying, because none of your gurus, your people you follow on Twitter can tell you what this next candle is going to be. They can't. They can tell you what they think it's going to be or what it should be, but it's not always the case. So we base our trades off of probabilities, and higher probabilities more so than lower ones. So that's what we have on Netflix. We move on to Pfizer. Pfizer with an inside bar as well. So we can look for calls on Pfizer at 40.15. We can mark out the targets together to the upside. 40.51 is the first target, and we go to the downside at 39.26. If you're wondering how I get these lines to magnetize to the tops of the wicks, on the left-hand side, there's this little magnet button. You guys can just press that, and that will help you out with that. So that's the setup on Pfizer off of that inside bar. Procter & Gamble, here's another one. Inside bar, we'll see how this one plays out on Wednesday. Calls at 140.11, puts at 137.40. If I was guessing, I would say it's going to go down, but we don't guess, we play what's in front of us. So we'll see what happens with Procter & Gamble. Plug Power, 2 up red, so we'll look for the puts there at 11.86. PayPal, 2 up red. So again, we're looking for that reversal. We'll have it into time frame continuity on the hourly and daily at least. We can look for those puts at 72.68, and we can mark that first target out together at 71.09. Target, inside bar. I think Walmart also has an inside bar here. We'll come to it in a second. Inside bar on Target, calls at 160.32, puts at, let's clone this baby and give you a trigger on the bottom side. There we go. Puts at 156.55 on Target. Uber, 2 up red, puts at 32.16. Now normally, and I know a bunch of you guys know this already, normally these targets go to the bottom of the wicks, okay? But we have a gap, and we have another gap. So when we have those gaps, they go to the tops of the candles to fill that gap, okay? So there's gap fill number 1, there's gap fill number 2, and then eventually you can use that bottom as your target, okay? There's Walmart, there's the inside bar, and do we have a hammer candle? Probably not quite, but it's pretty close. Okay, so we can look for calls on this inside bar, hammer candle. Hammers are bearish. Shooters, opposite of this, are bearish. It's less bullish if it's red. That's not what we have here. And it's less bearish if the shooter is green. Doesn't mean it's not still bearish or bullish, but it's less. Okay, so inside bar, we'll call it a hammer candle. We'll look for those calls at 138.27. First target, top of the wick. Puts at 137 even, targets bottom of the wick. I think we're going to run into some ETFs here. Let's see what we come up with. There's XEL, that's XL Energy. There's the inside bar on XL. It's got great time frame to the upside. So calls at 65.93, puts at 64.69. There's XLU, that's the Spider Utilities ETF inside bar. Calls at 66.81, puts at 66.52. We've got time frame on our side there as well. There's XLV, the healthcare ETF for Spider. And it's actually a 3-1 setup. So the last time we had a 3-1 on Spider. There it is. Okay, triggered, targets. And do we hit other targets? down across the way. Not quite, doesn't look like it. There's another 3-1 setup here. Triggers, targets, and targets. Okay, so high probability play, guys. High probability. Here's another one. Okay, this one gapped up, and if we gap up in the morning, guys, then you can play the orb. That's the break of the 15-minute bar, the first 15-minute bar, and it basically becomes that first 15-minute bar if we gap up. So this is what I'm saying. If we, let's go to the start here, and look at this. If in the morning we open right here, let's say, okay, up here, that's a gap. So what we do is we go to the 15-minute bar, to the 15-minute chart. That first bar, you wait for it to close, and then that 15-minute bar acts as a inside bar. Now you can use the 5, you can use the 30. I really like the 15. I think it works the best. But that 15 bar becomes basically an imaginary inside bar, and you take the break of the high or the low. Okay? I have videos on that. I think there's a 4-video series on that. I have a playlist on it as well, so go check that out in the channel. So that's the list, guys. I'm going to ask, I know there's not a ton of you in here today. We usually do these at 4 Eastern. I know it's 6:30 Eastern. I got to it a little late today. I had a couple one-on-ones, which were amazing. I love doing those with you guys. I love being able to help you guys out. So if you need those one-on-ones, again, you can buy them separately. You can purchase them separately. It's $38 for half an hour. But if you just buy the $50 membership, you get that with it. You get the $25 indicator. You get the $20 trading bots. Gives you live trading bots throughout the day. It gives you all of that stuff within that $50. So a lot of added value there with a really small price that you guys can make back in one trade. So make sure you guys are checking that out. All the information that's part of the memberships can be found in the Discord or my pinned tweet. So go check that out in the Discord. Find out that information. And yeah, if you guys don't have anything else, it doesn't look like it. So if you do decide that you have come up with something, again, get a hold of me on the Discord, get a hold of me on Twitter, or just leave it in the comment section below on the recorded video. So thank you guys. Good luck trading Wednesday. I wish you nothing but the best, and we will see you all tomorrow.